well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat. Tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And welcome to Sports Talk Network. It's day 4 of SEC days. It's the last day of SEC Media Days, and we likely will be the last show standing here in Nashville as people head out. I think we're one of the few, maybe not the only, but one of the few of the evening shows, or those that start late afternoon and go into the evening. We're an evening show. Most everybody else, they're doing morning, mid-afternoon, midday. They pack up, they leave. We are still here, and tonight the spotlight primarily is on South Carolina because it was the Gamecocks who came through today, one of 3 teams to come in and wrap things up. They were joined by the good folks from Tennessee and the good folks from Ole Miss. But Shane Beamer came in, and he was very solid once again. I think that he impresses every time he comes to SEC Media Days. This is his 3rd, and I think every time the media who are not around him on a regular basis, they're impressed by what they hear and what they see. At least that's what I hear from them. And that is that he's very smooth, he's very passionate, he believes in what he is doing, and he's confident, and he's very positive, and all those sort of things. And he was all of that today and more in his presentations around the building as he went from one section to another. We've got 2 pieces of him for you tonight. We'll play his opening statement in the big radio room, and then we will, or the big media room, and then we'll play the piece he did with the South Carolina media first thing this morning at about 8:35 local time here in Nashville before he went downstairs. USC Sports Information did a great job. Steve Fink and company did a great job of providing us with the 3 players and Shane Beamer just for South Carolina media before they went downstairs to make the round. So, and then, of course, Beamer did the other stops, and it was Q&A, and basically the same material was covered upstairs that was covered downstairs. So I think we can bring you all of that and be satisfied that you got good coverage of what Beamer had to say. And also we'll bring you Spencer Rattler tonight as well. So we got that and maybe a little bit more. Mike Morgan at 7:05, 7:30 MJ Ward from the British Open, or just the Open, as they played round 1 today. We'll update all of that in just a little bit. But Chris Bergen joining us from the Berge Palace in Sardis, Pat Daniel at the studios back in Columbia. And I think besides Beamer, the thing that kind of stirred the drink here today was Lane Kiffin, who, in all honesty, looked like he just walked in from one of the bars off Broadway. And I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just talking about his appearance. I mean, his hair was not in place. He looked a little dreary for whatever reason. Maybe he had an early wake-up call this morning. I don't know. That's just and he was very I don't know, very relaxed, calm, slow in his delivery and all that. But he did make one of the big arguments of the day related to NIL. He was brought into the NIL discussion. And the thing I like about Lane Kiffin, he's a guy that really doesn't give a rip. You know, he's been through the ringer. I mean, listen, he caught the wrath of Al Davis and somehow managed to survive that. So if you can coach out in Los Angeles and have Al Davis call you a liar and the big mistake and everything else that he called him and still bounce back and get great jobs, that says something about you. You know, you got that it factor that ADs want to have in their program. And he's doing a heck of a job at Ole Miss. But he was brought into the NIL conversation, and he called it like he sees it, which I think is right to the point. He said, quit. He's fed up with all the dancing around. He said, you know, in his words, NIL is just pay for play. I mean, that is what it is. And you can't really paint it in any other color. NIL was supposed to be something else. This is him talking. NIL was supposed to be something else, a way for these athletes to make money individually on their own off their name, image, and likeness. And, of course, now it's blown up into a cottage industry, about to be something even bigger, because it looks like they're pushing bills now through Washington to try to get involved and put down some guidelines and maybe give some power, some authority back to the NCAA in this case. So anyway, I may try and bring you a little bit of that, of what he had to say, because I thought it was interesting comments and pretty passionate. But back to the Gamecocks, Chris. Boy, I tell you, listen to Shane Beamer, and he's straightforward and honest about his team. No major news about the club. Everybody is healthy except for those who we all know are dealing with injuries. And nobody, like Mo Kaba, should be fine. Might be a little bit delayed at the start of preseason camp. Should be fine. Same thing with Jordan Strawn. And Nichols, the left tackle, we know is out indefinitely. I think the expectation is that he may miss the entire season. If he can make it back, it would be towards the end of the season. And so from a personnel standpoint, that's where things stand. No departures that we know of. He did not share any information about anything like that. So nothing to speak of there. He's anxious, excited, and ready to get started for this coming season, and thinks he's going to have a good club to send out there to play against a tough schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is, as he always is, very positive about his team, and he's got reason to be so. But I would also imagine there's some cautionary tales in the back of his mind. He threw out a number today, Phil, and I'd have to go through and check and see how many other programs even rival this. But he talked about the 38 new players that he is going to be bringing into the football team, whether they be incoming freshmen or transfers. Considering you have 85 guys on scholarship, and most FBS programs carry, about 105 players or so thereabouts on the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you have almost 40 newcomers to a team, I mean, is this where we're headed now with regards to the portal, John, and also obviously still recruiting as you can out of high school? I mean, is 40 going to be the magic number moving forward? Are we going to have almost nearly half of your roster turnover every season?
I would say that's a distinct possibility right now until they tighten the screws on the portal, John. Until they reduce the number of windows and have one defined window where you can put your name in and leave, and also maybe put some teeth back into the transfer rule.
Yeah.
They've got to bring some sanity to the movement of the players. You just can't have players jumping from school to school to school. You don't have that in professional sports. There are contracts, and that is what Lane Kiffin was talking about today. He prefers a system where you sign a contract with a school, just like coaches do, just like pros do, and you have to live up to that contract. Now in colleges, we haven't gotten to the point where they can cut you. Well, I guess they can cut you. They can't trade you, but I guess you can always be cut. So
could you imagine if we had trades in college sports? I mean, we're getting close. Didn't Clemson pull off a basketball trade this past offseason?
They did.
Swap with a player from NC State. Yeah, and Lane Kiffin's another one that falls into that example, because he talked about today that they've got 40 new players coming in on their roster for this upcoming season between transfers and high school recruits. And he's right. There's got to. I kind of like his idea about a contract. I mean, the horse is out of the barn. Let's get past this scenario that they're not professional athletes now. They are being paid to do what they do, so that makes them professionals. So let's start treating them like the NFL. Let's sign them to a contract. Yeah, I don't think a trade would be in the best interest of college sports, but who knows? 10, 15 years ago, I would have told you I didn't think the transfer portal, John, would be in the best interest of college sports, nor NIL.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, and I have, and I'm sure you have, and certainly Pat has. I mean, I've accepted the era that we're in now. Let's just make it better, okay? Let's put some sense into it, and let's make it work, and let's make it better, because there are a lot of flaws in the current system. And, you got some players making a ton of money. You got some players making little money. You got some players not making any money. that's not going to make people happy as we move through this. So let's see if we can come up with something that really works for the benefit of all, which is a big problem in college sports because they're only interested in their own individual gain and not for the good of all. So we'll see what comes of that. Meantime, the breaking news here today, I don't know if this made it back to Columbia yet. Did you check the UPI wire? My ballot.
Does that still exist?
It would be on UPI. My ballot is in, and I've made my picks for this year, so it's probably on UPI or Reuters. AP probably passed on it. So for those of you who live and die for this moment, here it is. It's time to live. So we'll start with the West. I went back and forth. I went with the home team in the regular season game, so I go with Alabama to win the West. LSU win LSU 2. Moved A&M up to 3. I had them down lower, but then I did a little more thinking and looking. I moved A&M up to 3. Then I put Arkansas 4, though I really think they might finish higher. Then it's Ole Miss, though they got a great running back and they got a really good quarterback returning. Mm-hmm. Got to fix the defense. They bring in a new coordinator. Mississippi State 6 and Auburn 7. Though I think Mississippi State could be a spoiler. So Auburn is kind of wait and see. In the East, well, listen, until somebody can beat Georgia, you got to go with Georgia. I know they got the new quarterback, but Carson Beck's a talented guy. He's got good people around him. So Georgia, then I went Tennessee. I almost went Gamecocks, but because the game's in Knoxville, and I think Joe Milton's a heck of a quarterback. And Tennessee's got several good receivers returning from last year, and they've got their top running backs returning. So I went Tennessee second. I went Gamecocks third, okay? That's moving on up. I went Gamecocks third, Kentucky fourth, figuring head-to-head the Gamecocks will beat Kentucky in Columbia. Fifth is Florida. You wonder about the direction of the Gators. Sixth, I went Vanderbilt, just because I think Clark Lee's doing as good a job as can be done. They improved significantly from year 1 to year 2. I like the quarterback. They lost their running back to Kentucky, Ray Davis. He's a heck of a running back. But I went 6 Vanderbilt and I went 7 Missouri just because. And, because Missouri is where Learfield is, and, I have a grudge. and then SEC champion, I picked Georgia again. Because I didn't want Alabama to be picked here for the 8th straight year, though they probably will be picked for the 8th straight year. I picked Georgia to win the SEC championship. Well, I'm not as sure as many Alabama media people are here as normal since this is outside their home state, and most of them, they can't leave the state because they're on parole. So they'd have a hard time getting here to Tennessee, be running the risk of getting picked up by the sheriff here. So I went with Georgia. What do you think?
I have no qualms with Georgia in the East. I think I agree with you. Until somebody proves they've closed the talent gap with the Bulldogs, then I'll start thinking differently. But I think Georgia, especially considering they've got maybe the easiest schedule in the SEC. And when Kirby Smart made that comment earlier in the week about, well, come play our schedule, there is not another team in the Southeastern Conference that would not trade their current schedule for what Georgia is playing this season. Mm-hmm. And I've really got no problem. Part of it is we're still in divisions, and the East, top to bottom, is not as strong as the West, top to bottom. So they get that break, and then they've got some really, really bad non-conference games, and they can't help the fact that Georgia Tech is not any good. They're in-state rivals, so they don't get any help there either. But there's not a team in the SEC that would not trade schedules with Georgia right now. So I still think they're the cream of the crop in the league, and I think they'll win the conference overall. But I'm actually going to flip-flop you and go with LSU to win the West over Alabama. And I am surprised after the sort of stumping you did for Mississippi State that you picked them as low as you did with their quarterback situation coming back.
Yeah, I mean, Will Rogers, a ton of yards. I just think it's the Mike Leach factor. I think even though I was impressed by Zach Arnett, I think people are going to think, well, Mike Leach is not there to call the ball plays, and that's going to make all the difference. They are going to try and be a better running team after having 3 consecutive years where they haven't run it at all. They're going to try and put it more RPO and more called runs and try and get their running game going. How much is that going to affect them? But they do have top receivers returning and the quarterback. Still, in looking at it, I could not convince myself to move them ahead of Ole Miss, and certainly couldn't go any higher than that. So that's where I put them. That's where I put them, and we'll see what happens. I mean, from time to time I'm right on things, but who knows from year to year what a team is going to do. Tennessee could get red hot. It could be Tennessee's year to beat Georgia. Georgia has to play in Knoxville. Who knows? I mean, I'm impressed with Joe Milton. The Gamecocks could get red hot. This is a Gamecock team. Listen, I did not put Spencer Rattler. You can only pick 2 quarterbacks on the preseason All-SEC team. And I went with Jefferson from Arkansas, and I went with the quarterback from LSU, who I'm high on, Jaden Daniels. So I went with Daniels and Jefferson because they had
gone with Jackson Dart at Ole Miss.
Thought about it. Yeah, I thought about it. But, Jefferson and Daniels, man, you put their passing yards together with their rushing yards. That's pretty impressive. I did, from the Gamecock standpoint, I did put Antoine Wells on there at wide receiver. I did put, and you can only pick those that are on the ballot that are nominated by their respective teams. Tonka Hemingway, I put him down as a defensive lineman. Mohamed Kaba, put him in as a linebacker. Nick Emanwari, put him in as a defensive back. Mitch Jeter, I put down as a place kicker. Kai Kroger, I put in as a punter. And all-purpose, I put De'Carrion Joyner in there. They also wanted you to vote on a kickoff specialist. A kickoff specialist. That means the guy that kicks off. A kickoff specialist. They want to have an all-SEC kickoff specialist and an all-SEC long snapper. So, not knowing anybody else, I put Mitch Jeter in there for the Gamecocks and Hunter Rogers from the Gamecocks. But they want you to pick a long snapper. How do you pick a long snapper from around the league?
And as bad as the media is in terms of biases with the team you cover week in and week out, how is anybody legitimately going to say, let's say you're covering the Florida Gators full time, you know who Arkansas's long snappers are? This is ridiculous.
If you do, you are tuned into SEC football. I'll tell you what. Okay, let's hit the break, so we'll stay on time tonight, Pat, if you don't mind. Let's hit the break, and we'll come back and update a few other things. And after the bottom of the break, we'll get into the Gamecocks here a little bit. Hear from Shane Beamer, hear from Spencer Rattler, Mike Morgan coming up. We'll hear from MJ Ward over there in Liverpool. I wonder if he went over to visit any areas where the Beatles used to hang out. I would certainly be doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wonder if the Beatles ever played that golf course, if they play golf at all, the ones that are left. Hit the break, and we'll be right back.
We've got rates worth bragging about. For a limited time, Founders Federal Credit Union is offering our 12-month certificate at 5.04% annual percentage yield, or APY. And our 12-month IRA certificate is at 5.3% APY. Don't miss this opportunity. A $500 deposit is all it takes to make these great rates work for you. Rates accurate as of June 1st, 2023. Stop by any Founders location to open your IRA or certificate today. Or use Founders Online to open a certificate from wherever you are. To learn more, visit foundersfcu.com/dividend-rates. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. Membership qualification required. Federally insured by NCUA.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown. Dumpster Plus is your solution to a more cost-effective and professional work site. Dumpster Plus provides a roll-off dumpster and porta-john in one. Give them a call at 803-500-5094 and ask them about two services for the price of one. It's one call, one delivery, two services. Locally owned and operated in Columbia, and that means you'll talk to a real live local person, ready to get what you need with a 24-hour turnaround guaranteed. Whether your worksite is residential or commercial, big or small, near or far, you'll save money with Dumpster Plus. Waste management solutions never look so good. Call Dumpster Plus at 803-500-5094. That's 803-500-5094 for Dumpster Plus.
Hope, life, and the great Palmetto. What do these things have in common? Scholarship dollars. The SC Hope, the Life, and the Palmetto Fellow Scholarships are funded by the lottery players of this great state. And after 20 years, you've invested over $7 billion in education. $7 billion. Impressive. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
Obviously been a tough week for us to take phone calls, so we appreciate your patience. Hopefully you've been sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying the coverage of Media Days. We'll do the same thing next week at ACC Media Days. Smitty will be there for that when we do take your phone calls, and that number is 888-898-2525. You know that's the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number into Sports Talk since 2002. More than 2.1 million lottery-funded scholarships, such Hope and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships have been awarded to South Carolina students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education. Wins playing for fun as a win for education. Looks like a couple of people in America hit the lottery jackpot today. Somebody out in California won the $1 billion draw. And, of course, Daniel Snyder with the Redskins, that sale went through today. What did that final price end up being?
What was it, Pat just mentioned it to us, and I don't remember right off the top of my head what he said, but it was an insane amount of profit that he was able to pull. Plus, somehow the NFL owners are finding him as well, $60 million.
Well, with $60 million, after you're selling for, let's see if I can find it right here, $6 billion. Yeah, he sold it for a little over $6 billion. $6 billion with a B, as in boy, oh boy. So they're going to fine him $60 million for he did something nefarious there in trying to. Here's a guy. If I read this story correctly, he tried to sneak $17,000 or so past the NFL, and now they're fining him $60 million.
How are they going to collect that though? He's no longer a part of their group, and I thought the whole point of this was to get rid of him, just get him out of the league, get him away from the NFL as best they can. They were able to do that. Just let it go, guys. You want to sound petty, I mean, you just saw one of your franchises go for $6 billion. So that means every one of your franchises around the league, the value has gone up considerably. Just let it go.
That's a good point.
Just let it go.
We have an amateur tied for the lead at the Open, Christo Lamprecht. 5 under par, 66, Tommy Fleetwood and Emiliano Grillo. Also, 5 under 66. They have a one-shot lead over a couple of other golfers. Make it 3, tied for second. Details coming up a little bit later. We'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy with a low of 76 this evening. Tomorrow is our hottest day of the week. You can look for more clouds than sunshine, a high of 96. Some afternoon downpours also possible. For the weekend, on Saturday, we have a 40% chance of some rain, a high of 90, while on Sunday, 30% chance of showers, the high is 89. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawns. Is it time for a new lawn? You need to start with a smooth grade done right. Then a must is a new Rainbird irrigation system that comes complete with a 1-year warranty. We will then help you know what turf is right for your yard. Tiff Tough Bermuda is a great turf for full sun. Then let the pros maintain your whole property and keep your new grass green and healthy and weed-free. At Midlands Landscape and Lawns, we hate weeds. So that's why you can find us at hateweeds.com. hateweeds.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the Supreme Court would have to abide by stronger ethics standards under legislation approved by the Democrat-controlled Senate Judiciary Committee. It comes in response to recent revelations about donor-funded trips by justices. The bill faced united opposition from Republicans and has little chance to make it through the full Senate. The legislation would set ethics rules for the court and a process to enforce them, including new standards for transparency around recusals, gifts, and potential conflicts of interest. NFL owners have unanimously approved the sale of the Washington Commanders from Dan Snyder to a group led by Josh Harris. The deal is for a North American professional sports record of $6.05 billion. A special league agreement was called to consider and vote on the agreement before the 2023 season begins. More details at srnnews.com.
I'm sure you've seen all the construction around Malfunction Junction. Maybe you've wondered what a career as a heavy equipment operator looks like, but you have no idea how to get started. Let Midlands Technical College help put you in the seat of a great career operating a backhoe, dozer, excavator, or motor grader. Classes start every 5 weeks, and in a little over a month, you can be behind the controls of the equipment, making a great salary. Just check us out at midlandstech.edu. That's midlandstech.edu.
There's more than one kind of customer when it comes to Shooter's Choice. First, there's the customer who knows what's what, has a pretty good idea of what he or she likes. You're looking for a few things. First, a good selection. Yep, Shooter's Choice has a huge selection. Firearms, ammo, accessories, optics, even gun safes. You're looking for good and fair pricing. Oh yeah, Shooters has been around as your local stop forever because they treat you right. And how about customer service? Absolutely the best you'll find anywhere. The folks who work at Shooter's Choice are shooters and hunters just like you. They know their products, they can answer your question. And that brings me to the other type of customer. Someone maybe more like me. No expert for sure, but wants to learn from the right people. I don't need some big box store guy who works in the shoe department half a week, sporting goods the other half. I need the experts at Shooter's Choice who will treat me right, answer my questions as simple as they might be. They'll make my experience excellent. Online, it's shooterschoicesc.com or visit them in person on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Are you getting a tax refund? You've been waiting to put those new hardwood floors in? Or is it that luxury vinyl plank that's so hot right now? It's time to call the flooring department. Stretch your dollars here. The flooring department doesn't have a huge multi-million-dollar showroom to pay for. They keep your prices down and your quality up. Look, we all buy from the same manufacturers, so why pay more? Online at theflooringdepartment.com or call 951-3567. That's 951-FLOR.
Summer in South Carolina. No better time to celebrate your number 6 of Pick Me SC with Columbia Animal Services. Take advantage of free adoptions from July 14th through the 22nd. Take a peek at petfinder.com to see all the great dogs and cats available to come home with you. It's the best time of the year for you to be a hero and adopt. Visit petfinder.com and bring your fur baby home.
Hey, Tiger fans, it's your head coach of Clemson Gymnastics, Amy Smith, here to tell you that season tickets for our first ever season are on sale now, starting at just $25. Make sure to visit ClemsonTigers.com to secure your seat in Little John Coliseum. We cannot wait to compete this coming January, and believe me, you won't want to miss this. Visit ClemsonTigers.com today and go Tigers.
We continue with Sports Talk, Sports Talk Media Network on this Thursday night. Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Let's dive into the Gamecocks. It was Gamecock Day here, as far as we were concerned. Yeah, Ole Miss was here, and Tennessee was here as well. They were important to their people. This is, to us, Gamecock Day because it was 3 Gamecock players, Tonka Hemingway, Spencer Rattler, Kai Kroger, and head coach Shane Beamer making the rounds. Let's begin with what Beamer had to say once he was introduced by Commissioner Greg Sankey in the Great Hall of Sports Writers here at SEC Media Days. Here is the opening comments of, here are the opening comments of Shane Beamer. We'll cut it, number 3. We will cut it before they get to the question and answer session, because we got that on our own from our session with him upstairs before they made the round. So here are the opening comments from Shane Beamer as he spoke to the media in the big room this morning.
Very grateful to be up here. I will never take for granted the position that I'm in as a head football coach in the Southeastern Conference. As a young coach coming up, I used to watch this every year on SEC Network. So to be standing up here for the 3rd year in a row is something I am extremely grateful for. And like I said, we'll never take for granted. And a big reason for that is because of how fantastic this league is. There's nothing like the Southeastern Conference, the premier conference in the nation on the field. You look at the NFL draft every single season, what we're doing off the field as well. Players and coaches want to play in this league and want to coach in this league, and I'm no different. I love coming here and being able to see so many faces here at SEC Media Day each year. I love going to Destin in the month of May and being around so many other Hall of Fame coaches, not just football, but men's basketball, women's basketball. It's a great fraternity of coaches in this league, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. Very thankful for Commissioner Sankey and his leadership, as he alluded to, someone that I've had great respect for over the years as a coach coming up in the profession. And now that I'm in this league and getting to work with him day in, day out, my respect for him has only grown. There's great uncertainty nowadays in college athletics. There's no doubt about it. But to have him leading the way makes me feel a whole lot better as well. And congratulations to him on his new and well-deserved contract extension. And then thanks to all you do for everything that you do for college athletics and promoting our great game. My 3 children have not let me forget that I had the 2nd longest opening statement last summer. So they've been telling me for 2 weeks, don't be that guy again. So I didn't think I was long last year, but apparently I was. So I'm going to be much shorter this year, or try to. Excited about the 3 guys that I have here with me today: Spencer Rattler, Kai Kroger, and Tonka Hemingway. 3 guys that are great examples of everything that's right about college athletics. You hear a lot about what's wrong with college athletics nowadays. Those 3 guys embody what is right. Guys that are tough, dependable, competitive, and unbelievable ambassadors for our program. Spencer and I were obviously together at Oklahoma. I've known him since 2018 when I got to Oklahoma, and we were recruiting him. Fantastic career at Oklahoma. What a great season that he had down the stretch for us last season. So fired up that he's back as our quarterback for another year. Someone that came in and was voted a captain by his teammates last season as a junior, and has an opportunity to be a 2-time captain here. As somebody that finished the season strong last season but has not slowed down. He was voted our most outstanding offensive player during spring practice, and excited to see what he's going to do this upcoming year. Tonka Hemingway, unselfish, unbelievable person and football player, guy that played defensive tackle, but then in the bowl game, because of depth, had to play defensive end in the bowl game for us, played every play, never came off the field, great player for us on special teams as well, someone from the state of South Carolina, and that's where it's always going to start with us in recruiting, is recruiting our own state. Tonka embodies that. And then Kai Kroger, frankly, he's the best punter in the nation. He was the best punter in the nation last year, in my opinion, and he is a weapon for us. Glad that he's back for another season. Outstanding student athlete. He was named our most outstanding student athlete academically in spring practice, and a guy that not only is he a phenomenal punter, he has 3 touchdown passes in his career on fake punts and fake field goals that we've ran over the last couple years, and hope to add to that in 2023 also. Really like this 2023 team that we have returning. It's a hungry group. They've shown they're not satisfied with just 8 wins. They know that we have a higher ceiling here at Carolina, and everything that they've done since January embodies that. We've had a great summer in the weight room with Luke Day, our head strength coach, and his staff. Like the way that these guys are working. It's a big thing with us, and a big message is no complacency. We can't assume that because things went well for us last season, because we won 8 games and accomplished a lot of firsts, that it's just automatically going to go that way again because we've got returning players. We've got 38 new guys on our football team, and I know in today's college football rosters turn over more than they ever have. But 38 is a really, really high number when you talk about incoming freshmen and transfers. So we have gone from 2 wins to 7 wins to 8 wins, but it's going to take that much more in every area. Our challenge has been to be better in every single area of our program, every department than we were in 2022. And we're well on our way to doing that. We're going to be a young football team. We expect to play true freshmen at every single position this upcoming season. So we've got to grow up and continue to get better in a hurry. Got a lot of personnel back on the offensive side of the ball. Hired a new offensive coordinator in Dow Loggins. Couldn't be more excited about the addition of him to our program on and off the field. Some impact transfers and incoming freshmen we're excited to get to work with once we start practice next month. Key for us offensively, we've just got to be a lot more consistent than what we've been. We've done some really good things offensively, but we've been way too inconsistent. To have a week last year where we didn't score an offensive touchdown against Florida, but then to come back the very next week and score 63 points in the next game, the inconsistencies and the extremes we've got to be better about. Defensively, year 3 with Clayton White, our defensive coordinator. Key for us there is going to continue to be an opportunistic defense, which is what we've been. We've led or been second in the SEC 2 years in a row in takeaways. We've got to continue to be that opportunistic group as well. Really fired up. Our coaching staff stayed intact defensively, except for the addition of Travian Robertson. The opportunity to bring Travian back home. He's a former South Carolina football player, was a highly recruited player out of the state of North Carolina. So they decided to come to South Carolina. So we need more guys in that state to follow his lead and come across the border south. But Travian was a highly recruited guy, great player in college, good NFL career, and he's made an impact already. One of our defensive linemen pulled me aside a week after Travian had been on our campus and said, "You hired the right guy hiring that guy. He's made us better already." So our defensive line group is better already with the addition of Travian Robertson, and can't wait to see what he's going to do. We lost some major contributors on our defense on all 3 levels. Great players and great leaders that we've got to do a great job replacing. Special teams has been a weapon for us the last 2 seasons. It has won football games for us under the leadership of Pete Limbo. Got to continue to be that way also, and confident that we will be. Anytime you return all of your key specialists, you got a chance. And we return our punter, our kicker, our long snapper, our kickoff returner. The question for us is going to be who our punt returner is going to be, but that needs to continue to be a weapon for us. Really proud of what our players are doing off the field. We had great success on the field last season, accomplished a lot of firsts, but this past semester, the spring semester, academically, our football team had the highest GPA in the history of South Carolina football. So the highest team grade point average last spring was the highest it's ever been, not since I've been at Carolina, but in the history of Carolina football. So proud of our guys and what they're doing. We've got 21 players that will be graduates of the University of South Carolina when we kick off game 1 against North Carolina, and that's following up on last year when we had 22 players that were graduates last year as well. We had players on our team this past spring that had 4.0 GPAs. So the work that our guys are doing academically and athletically, I'm really proud of. We talk about competition as a core value in our program. Our guys love to compete in everything. As I mentioned, some great things last season, a lot of firsts, but a lot of things that we have to be better at. You guys that follow us regularly know that I've said this. It's 2 years in a row. Our offense has been last in the SEC at turning the ball over. Nobody in this league has fumbled and thrown more interceptions than we have in the last 2 seasons. So that's got to improve. That starts with me as the head football coach. And then obviously we've got to be better at running the football and stopping the run as well. We've got a demanding schedule that we get to play, opening up with North Carolina and finishing with Clemson, 2 teams that played in the ACC championship game last season, not to mention the 8 SEC games that we'll play between those guys as well. So going to be a challenging year for us, but we're excited about getting started, excited about where things are in recruiting. We just finished up the class of 2023. It's the highest ranked class we've had at Carolina in over 10 years. The 2024 class is on track to be better than that as well. Love where we're at and where we're going as a program without a doubt. And I've said this before, it's an easy place to recruit to when you talk about the city of Columbia, the state of South Carolina, the unbelievable academics we have at Carolina, the amazing fan base, the facilities, and then the championship sports that we have and other sports like Dawn Staley and our women's basketball program as well. In closing, ton of excitement about our program right now, locally and nationally. Honored to be the head football coach at South Carolina. People want to be a part of what we're doing. This program's not for everybody, but make no mistake about it, the culture in our football program has never been stronger since I took over as the head coach in 2020. So we've got sold-out Gamecock Club events that I'm going to right now. Our season ticket sales are up 106%, they were telling me the other day, and that just is building off the momentum that our fan base showed when they took over the city of Jacksonville for the Gator Bowl back in December as well. Love hearing from some of the transfers that we've brought into our program. Love hearing from them when they come into our program and they talk about our program and how different it is from other places as well. I take great pride in that as the head football coach as well. We've made a lot of progress in 2 years, but the best days of South Carolina football are still in front of us. I'm convinced of that, and it's because of the people that we have in our program. You win with people. We have great people in our program. We have great people at the University of South Carolina, great leadership, and couldn't be more honored to be the head football coach at South Carolina. So Sutton, Olivia, Hunter, my 3 children, hope I did better with the opening statement. With that, be glad to take any questions you guys have.
I tell you, you have to tip your cap to him. The guy has got never-ending positivity, energy, passion for his program. He is like, and I say this with all due respect because he is a man who's like in his mid-40s, but he's like a kid who's got that great toy he's always wanted. And that toy was to be a head coach. And really, as he got older, he wanted to be the head coach in South Carolina after being there with Steve Spurrier. He's got that toy that he's always wanted, and he's just making the best out of it. You know, that resonates with today's athletes, the positivity, never saying a negative word unless it's required. Don't get me wrong, he's not a choir boy. Never saying a negative word unless it's required. It's a page right out of the Dabo Swinney playbook from when he took over the Clemson job, and they had to be constantly built up to the point where you overstate things. And if people want to question you, so be it. But the people in your locker room, you know, they appreciate it. Where you have to be careful, of course, is not to get those expectations that aren't reachable, out there, and then people become disappointed when you don't reach those goals, when you don't, get to those expectations. I still think expectations for South Carolina are within reason. 3rd place in the East, perhaps with a great year. 2nd place in the East, if some things were to fall their way. Maybe an 8 or 9 win regular season. If you can pull that off, you got a chance to get to 10 wins, 9 or 10 wins with a bowl win. I think all that's very reasonable expectation in year 3 for Shane Beamer and this football program, Chris.
Well, and Phil, as we pointed out a couple of times, that would be sort of unique in the history of coaching at South Carolina. Team coaches have not, for whatever reason, fared very well in their 3rd season there. As a matter of fact, you referenced Dabo Swinney. You go back to Dabo's 3rd year at Clemson. That was his only losing season there as head coach. And there were a lot of Clemson fans at that time. I remember back to the end of 2010 thinking, did we make the right decision with this guy? Maybe we should have gone after somebody else instead of staying in-house. And after that, history sort of has been told, and the rest is history. So maybe Shane Beamer actually ups that. I can't see them winning only 6 games this year. I think that would be a major disappointment with the momentum they carried into the offseason. I'd be really, really surprised if, aside from the fact if they run into injuries and that type of thing that you can't compensate for. We saw what happened with Gamecock baseball when they started losing key members of their team. They just weren't as good as they were earlier in the season. But if he's able to win 7, 8, 9 games again this year, I think the program's in really, really good hands.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, what was I going to say, too, on top of what you were saying? Lenora Sellers, we talked about the quarterback situation. He's very high on Lenora Sellers, and he's not forgetting Luke Doty either, who he says is prepared and ready to go at quarterback. I know I was going to say, understanding in talking optimistically about South Carolina that there are some questions about the offensive line. They've got to play better. They've got to solve that left tackle situation because Nichols is out. But they do have guys who've played a lot of football either for them or somewhere else. How good is the transfer from Yale? Is he going to play center? Is he going to play left guard? Apparently he's a good player, but I mean, it's a big step up from Yale to the SEC. We'll see how he handles that. Across the line, they have guys who've played a good amount of football. And whoever wins that left tackle spot will be somebody who's played football. It could be Fugar, the transfer, or it could be a returning player over there on the offensive line. It could be Ja'Kai Moore. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with this offensive line. It is going to be a question mark going into the season. I think opening up against a North Carolina team without a great defense, I don't think North Carolina is going to be physically over-imposing on South Carolina. It might be the other way around. South Carolina may be the more physical team against North Carolina. That will be a good matchup for this offensive line, I think, to open up the season, before they play Furman and then they go down to Georgia where they are going to face, a brick wall trying to block that crowd there at Georgia. So, all right, so that is Shane Beamer part 1. More to come from him. The question and answer part with the South Carolina media still to come. Also comments from Spencer Rattler. I'll bring that to you. Mike Morgan has asked for a mulligan, and he'll be with us tomorrow night at 6:35, so that's cool. We'll get in those Wes Goodwin comments from the meeting with the media the Tigers had on Tuesday, and I got this Lane Kiffin stuff I want to play as well, so we got all that coming your way, plus recruiting and MJ from the Open. With all that being said, we got time for some phone calls. So as promised, let's hit the lines, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. We go to Gamecock Larry. First up tonight, welcome in, Gamecock Larry. Hope you're doing well.
Boy, I tell you what, I'm so tired of this Georgia this, Georgia that, smart this, smart that. I tell you what, we going to Georgia, and the Gamecocks will beat Georgia and Tennessee. They're going to win the East. Gamecocks will win the East. They forget Georgia got Muschamp, ex-Gamecock, as defensive coordinator. They got Mike Bobo, offensive coordinator, ex-Gamecock. And we lost, but I think they all wanted to get together. And Georgia culture, Smart, Bobo, Muschamp, they all together, but they going to lose. But I'm so sick and tired of it, I'm going to take me a month off. I'm going to Florida. I rented me a car, a SUV from Lev Chevrolet, and I'm going to take a month off and go to Florida. Get away from this Georgia talk. I'm so sick and tired of it. Georgia, Alabama, saying Saban is going to take a seat behind Smart. Smart, you got all your stuff you learned. You got it from Saban. and Saban is the man, still the coach. But I got my SUV loaded up. I got my driver, one of them super speeders up there from Georgia. I got a football player to drive for me so we can get there quicker. I got it all set up, and I'm going to take a month off. And when I get back, it's going to be football time, and the Gamecocks going to go 12-0 in the Final Four in 2024. Go Gamecocks. I'm tired of this Georgia stuff. Georgia. Small, Saban taking a back seat to Georgia. I tell you what, what's wrong with these people? I'm so sick and tired. I'm so sick and tired of it. And Smart, I got a book on Smart, and one day when you give me time, I'm gonna tell you a lot of things about Smart that you don't know. You act. I ain't talking to you, Phil. I'm talking to. I'm talking. You're just repeating what the other people saying. But I ain't blaming you. I love you, Phil. I love you, Pat. Love you, Chris. I'm going to Florida. Super speeder, Georgia football player. I'll talk to you when I get back. No, I ain't going. I'm just cutting. I'm cutting. Go Gamecocks!
All right, Gamecock Larry. That might be one of your all-time best phone calls. Fantastic. All right.
I thought his prediction of USC's offense generating 180 yards a game on the ground was impressive. Beating Georgia and Tennessee this year, considering the last 2 years, Carolina's been outscored by Georgia 88-20. That may be a much greater prediction if that came true.
They pull that off, they win the national championship.
Why not?
Because you're winning in Athens and you're winning in Knoxville. If you're good enough to do that, you're good enough to win them all. Okay, so we'll see what Larry, if his prediction does come true. 888-898-2525 is the number. Pat, are we going to Hank in Columbia? Next up, hello, Hank. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Phil. Earlier when you started the show, you were talking about the government sitting out some stuff to kind of get NIL in place and helping to regulate students, athletes in regards to the portal, right?
Correct.
Don't forget the coaches. It needs to be set in place also to help and regulate the coaches, because even though you don't have one universal deadline, each of these sports has a deadline. And seeing stuff like in St. John's, where you're seeing now a couple of basketball players jumping in the portal where they're going to have to sit out a year. And everybody's saying it's because of all these 5-star commitments and 5-star transfers that Rick Pitino's getting. And I played golf with a basketball player that played college basketball in the ACC. And he talked about when a new coach came in and they played for a year under a new coach, and then they called him in and said, you 5 guys, you can continue to attend here, but you're not going to have to play here. So we got to make sure when we're addressing athletes and the portal getting crazy, that we also address the things that brought about the portal, which is some of those incidences just like that with these coaches.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would imagine that in the pro ranks, guys who are under contract who aren't very good are told by the coaches, you're going to be 3rd, 4th string here, whatever. You're going to sit. You're not going to play. We got to pay you. It's under contract. But, I mean, they can't just up and leave. I mean, they can they can demand a trade. I guess they can just get out and take a fine and get fined. That happens in the pros. But
and Phil, we know in college where this happened before. You had a hangnail yesterday. That's a violation of team rules. I'm sorry, you got to get out of here.
Well, I just hope they come up with a common sense plan that makes it work for everybody. Now that we're going to be in the true pay for play scenario here in this era, and let's don't be like we've always been in college sports and try and hide behind words or hide behind an acronym, because we've always done that in college sports, going back 50, 60 years, student athletes. Well, the student part was never really the focal point of athletes, of the people who administrate athletics in college, right? It became all about being the athlete and helping generate all the money over all these years. And now we've determined that that's not good enough. I mean, the scholarship that they were getting in return for this era of athletics, we've determined that that's not quality return on their time and investment and effort. And so now we are where we are, where the money's going to be changing hands, and we'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces, summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The White House is deeply concerned about the well-being of the U.S. soldier who entered North Korea earlier this week. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Biden administration officials say North Korea has yet to respond to U.S. requests for basic information about Private Travis King, the AWOL soldier. The National Security Council's John Kirby says North Korea is not a country that is known for humane treatment of Americans or anybody else for that matter. On Tuesday, King, who was supposed to be on his way to Fort Bliss, Texas, ran into North Korea while on a civilian tour of the border. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Democrats are pressing their attack on the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. Bob Agnew reports from Capitol Hill.
By a strict party line vote, Democrats on the Judiciary Committee were able to advance their bill instituting new transparency requirements for the court. Ranking Republican Lindsey Graham blasted the Supreme Court Ethics, Recusal, and Transparency Act as retaliation for recent court decisions unpopular with Democrats. He told his Democrat colleagues, quote, "You have done just about everything there is to do to delegitimize this court." Bob Agnew, Capitol Hill.
Russia pounded Ukraine's southern cities with drones and missiles for a third consecutive night, keeping Odessa in its crosshairs after a bitter dispute over the end of a wartime deal that allowed Ukraine to send grain through the key Black Sea port. Ukrainian officials said Thursday that the strikes killed at least 2 people in Odessa. At least 19 people, including a child, were injured in the nearby city of Mykolaiv. Russia has targeted Ukrainian critical grain export infrastructure since it vowed retribution this week for an attack that damaged a crucial bridge between Russia and the Moscow-annexed Crimean Peninsula. Mixed day on Wall Street as the Dow was up by 163. The NASDAQ dropped 294. More at townhall.com.
Attention, your money is now controlled by the U.S. government.
Picture a world where your every purchase is monitored, tracked, and controlled by those in power to suppress the freedoms of those they see fit. Hi, my name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. And right now, I've become very focused on the impending rollout of the central bank digital currency. This is not a work of fiction. It's a terrifying reality looming on the horizon. But there is a bit of good news. I've partnered with Advantage Gold to offer you a solution. They are specialists in converting your traditional assets, like those inside an IRA or 401k, into tangible assets such as physical gold and silver. Don't allow your money to be controlled. Claim your free gold protection kit from Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor.
Call 800-900-8000.
Sales of existing homes fell in June.
It's more evidence that many house hunters are being held back by the low number of homes for sale. Rising mortgage rates aren't helping either. Existing home sales fell 3.3% last month from May. Compared with June of last year, sales sank almost 19%. The shortage of homes for sale is driving bidding wars in many places, especially for the most affordable homes. The National Association of Realtors says 1/3 of homes sold last month went for more than their list price. But compared to June of last year, the typical sales price fell to just over $410,000. I'm Rita Foley.
The Federal Reserve has launched a new instant payment service that allows banks and credit unions to sign up to send real-time payments so they can offer customers a quicker way to send money between banks. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy with a low of 76 this evening. Tomorrow is our hottest day of the week. You can look for more clouds than sunshine, a high of 96. Some afternoon downpours also possible. For the weekend, on Saturday, we have a 40% chance of some rain, a high of 90, while on Sunday, 30% chance of showers, the high is 89. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Please press button now. I said to, genius.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back with you, Sports Talk Media Network, Thursday night edition, wrapping things up from Nashville after 4 glorious days here in the Music City for the SEC Media Days. Some rough weather moved through here. It's nice this afternoon, this evening here, but I know in areas of Tennessee and Kentucky, heavy rain and flooding as a result, but got some good weather here finally in downtown Nashville. Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen and Pat Daniel spotlighting the Gamecocks who came through here today. Heard from Shane Beamer a little while ago, his opening comments to the main media room. Let's go now to Shane Beamer from our gaggle with him. What they do for us is have Shane Beamer meet with the South Carolina media upstairs before he goes downstairs to make the rounds. And for the first time in SEC Media Day history, they provided the players for us as well. Now, you can go around and grab the players as they're making the rounds and try and do interviews with them, but they kind of made it easy for us and just provided all the players for us as well. And we'll hear from Spencer Rattler coming up. But Shane Beamer, this is the part where we get the good questions and answers to him, in particular about his team, things that you want to know about from a Gamecock fan standpoint. So here is Shane Beamer answering the questions from us this morning.
So what's the offseason been like for you?
Been good. Certainly, it all goes in cycles, and since I saw you guys, I guess last finished the spring game, and May's busy. Coaches are on the road recruiting and Gamecock Club events, and June's camps and recruiting visits, and July is a little bit of a catch your breath, but your players are still around the facility as well. So it's been good, some good family time and good football time, and excited to be here in Nashville today and get going.
So your thoughts on not playing Georgia, Tennessee, Florida in 2024, and what's lost in not playing those rivals that you could argue are 1, 2, and 3 on the Gamecocks list in the SEC?
No, it's weird. I'll be honest with you. I mean, when you have expansion, there's 16 teams in the league that you're not going to be able to play everybody. But for as long as I can remember, South Carolina played those teams, so to not be playing them is weird. It's it's part of it, but I look at it as an opportunity to play other teams and go visit places and schools that we haven't been to in a long time or ever, and then that eventually or at some point in the near future too, those teams will come back on the schedule also.
Some housekeeping stuff. Anybody that won't be healthy to start camp outside of Nichols?
No, really it. I knew you guys would ask me, David, so I called Clint Haggard last night about 8 o'clock just to make sure that nothing had happened. So unless something has changed since this morning when I got on the plane, everybody should be good. Now, we may have some guys, a couple of the guys coming off surgeries from last year, Jordan Strawn and Mo Kaba. They may be a little bit limited at the beginning of preseason practice, but they'll be able to practice, and everybody should be 100% by game one.
You just last year about bringing Rattler this time around. I don't know where you believed it when you said it back then, but what did it mean to get to invite him here?
It meant it's good to have him here. It means he came back and and he was able to do some great things as our quarterback last season, and then looking to build on that this year as well. So excited to have him here. He's a fantastic representative of our program also, and I guess he's not one of the super seniors, so he technically could come back next year if he wanted to as well. So that would really be something if he was back another year also. But excited to have him here today.
But when you think about the people that you bring, what goes into making those decisions, and got to hear it means something to them. This is a special moment for them. Yeah. For you, what goes into that decision, and how special is it to share this with these different guys each year?
Yeah, no, for sure. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I mean, I start thinking about it literally at the beginning of spring practice, probably. Just who am I going to take to to SEC Media Day with me, Nashville in this instance? And to me, you want somebody that has shown it on the field and earned it. And not that Spencer hadn't earned it last season, but I didn't feel comfortable bringing him because he hadn't played a football game yet at the University of South Carolina. And just because he's Spencer Rattler and was our starting quarterback doesn't mean you just automatically come to SEC Media Day. And that's just my philosophy. Not that it's right. But to me, it's, probably an older guy. Last 2 years with Nick and JJ, and then Javon and Zach, and to carry on, taking guys that were, seniors or at least older guys on the team, guys that will represent this program the right way and do represent this program the right way, and guys that, have the respect of their teammates as well. And couldn't think of more, there's other guys back in Columbia that certainly are deserving that aren't here today, but, to have somebody offense, defense, and special teams here is important to me. Continuing to get, not that he wasn't comfortable in the offense last year, but to me, just the confidence and the comfortability, is that a word, that he has in the offense as well, continuing to grow with that. So I think he is, an understanding of the offense. For me, it's I think he had the success he had in the last couple games, 2 or 3 games of the season. To me, Gene, was so much of his ability to just, cut it loose, give his receivers and tight ends opportunities to go make plays, and just continue to, play with confidence and play free like he did. And there's a lot of certainly fundamental things and technical things that, he'll tell you that he needs to improve on. But as the head coach, that's what I want to see, is just him continuing to play with that confidence and swagger that he played with last season.
He's obviously the only specialist here. I guess just what went into getting him here and bringing him.
Well, when you talk about somebody that has shown it on the field, he's earned it. His ability as a punter, as a holder, as a quarterback, when we have faked punts and faked field goals, he has the respect of his teammates. We have a good group of seniors on our team, and he's one of them. And to me, our specialists have to be leaders as well, and it's a statement about what kind of leader that Kai is and can continue to be. As well, and just solid student. He was the outstanding student athlete academically from in spring practice for us and our spring awards, and really productive on the field, and a leader on our team. Not yet, but I'll make sure that they know that in my openings, or one of my statements, that the best punter in the country is here with us today.
What's the value in the way you guys finished last year, giving you the belief that you can win big games, but also realizing that that doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to carry over.
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked about a lot as a team, that you just can't assume. I mean, we got 38 new players on our team that weren't even there when we played Clemson last season. So there's so much newness. We've shown that we can compete against the best in the country. We showed that in game 11 and game 12 last season. But every year is different, and we've got to be better than what we were last year for sure. But certainly there's great confidence within our team going into this season, but there's also an understanding that nobody's taking a breath and patting ourselves on the back. We got a lot to improve on as well. Yeah, Mike.
From a recruiting standpoint, this fan base, ups and downs. They're gonna react as soon as something happens or something doesn't happen. The reason I'm bringing that up is obviously from an NIL standpoint. What message would you send to this fan base right now who's itching for that next welcome home?
I'm itching for it too, and you realize that it's a marathon, and I think our fan base and anybody that follows recruiting needs to also take a look back and realize the amount of guys that we got committed back at the beginning of the season that every team in the country would love to have committed to their roster right now. So that was a really big deal then, and it's still a really big deal now. Do I wish that we had more welcome home tweets in the month of July? Absolutely. The month isn't over, so we'll see what happens. And you just realize that it's a marathon, and signing day's 5 months away. There's a lot that's going to happen between now and then. And then it's not like we're not in the mix for guys. I mean, I learned a long time ago as a coach, Mike, as a competitor, I don't like losing anybody. Don't get me wrong. But I learned a long time ago as a coach, like, you're going to lose more kids than you get in recruiting. And, we've lost some guys guys chose to go elsewhere over the last, month or so, where they chose to stay with their in-state school or go play for the defending national champion or whoever it might be. And don't like that, but also let's not forget about the guys that have been committed to us and are the bulk of this 2024 class, and we got a long ways till December also.
Double check and just make sure everything was cool back there in areas that maybe you and your staff didn't see.
Yeah, I think you never assume. You constantly got to educate, and it starts with the people that you recruit and the people you have in your program, players, coaches, staff, and it's also being visible in the building as well. And I'm not in the locker room 24/7 like babysitting our players. I want them to have that area, but our coaches are also, in there as well. And I get it. I mean, as the head coach, you're responsible for everything that happens in your program, and that's scary, at times as well, inside the facility and outside the facility. But, certainly you want to, the culture that we have at Carolina, the things we talk about as a program, you guys have heard me say it before, it's not just words on a wall, it's how we do things, and it's educating our players year in, year out. Here's how we do things. It's part of the message. I'll certainly, when we meet in August and we start preseason practice, I'll, probably reiterate it even more than in years past in light of what's happening. But there's, whether it be that, there's issues with gambling going on across college athletics. I mean, it's just so much now that you've got to make sure you're constantly educating your guys on, and you can't assume anything.
Sure. Adding anyone? Are you guys exploring any more options out of the portal right now, or is the guys you have in the locker room the guys you're going to take into the season?
Not exploring anybody at this moment. Yeah, Emily.
Having Nick Harbor on campus now for the first time, are there any just early impressions of him on the field? And also, have you had a chance to talk to the new track coaching staff about what the plan might be for him?
Haven't talked to the new track coach yet. Excited about having him here. Though he's been busy. I've been out of town quite a bit over the last few weeks, but looking forward to working with them and having a great partnership. First impressions, he's fast, and I don't mean that, but he's fast. But great young man, working hard. He sent me a text message last week. He and Lenore Sellers were just in the indoor by themselves, just throwing, and he sent me a text, basically just check in and say hello and whatnot as well. And great guy, excited about him being in our program, and I know our players are excited as well. Yeah, Brad. Yeah, we'll see. Him being there for spring practice was really beneficial for him. He certainly opened up a lot of eyes in spring practice with his ability. But we got a really good quarterback room. People don't talk about Luke Doty anymore, and he's played some pretty good football for us down the stretch. So, and is a really good athlete. Luke, Tanner Bailey, Colton, all those guys. We really like our quarterback room. Spencer's our starter, and he needs to be on the field. But we'll see. We'll see where things go and what we do. But certainly Lenore has a bright future at our place, and he showed in spring practice that the moment's not too big for him if he were to have to play this season.
A guy like Nick, I mean, what is an actually fair expectation for a kid like that? I mean, I know he's a hugely highly rated guy, but how do you guys as a coaching staff deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that my concern is just the expectations that maybe the outside puts on him, that he's the savior coming in here and is going to come in and just take over college football. The guy's a true freshman that was in high school, a month ago. So let's, temper the expectations a little bit. He's an 18-year-old young man that's really, really talented, but whatnot. So for us, we'll give him an opportunity to, get the ball in his hands many ways as we can, and he's a part of a really good receiver room, so he's going to have to earn it. But certainly excited about him being in our program and what he brings to the table.
Shane, is there an update on Reams? Is it possible he could be part of the program this year?
No.
Shane, I know your overall core message is going to remain the same, but for this team, looking at how you finished last year and what challenges you face this year, is there anything you add to that message or that you have to tweak?
No, I think it's kind of like just going back what I was talking about earlier. Just don't assume anything. It's we've made a lot of progress, but we've got to be a lot more consistent. For as good as we were in those last 2 regular season games, we were just that bad the weeks leading up to that as well. And be more consistent in all 3 phases. But the biggest message for us, Rick, since the beginning of the 2023 is just find better ways of doing things, and don't just assume that the way that I did things last season, or the way that we did things in recruiting or nutrition or the weight room or the training room, that it just remains status quo. Like, be better than we've ever been. So that's the biggest thing, is just no complacency and just trying to continue to get better. Yes.
Jalen is in fall camp, and Ja'Kai missed some of spring. How do you kind of assess left tackle right now?
Say it one more time. I'm sorry.
How do you kind of assess left tackle right now without Jalen?
Yeah, it's one good thing that we've done is just being able to work guys at multiple positions throughout spring practice as well, and have some position flexibility at center guard and tackle. So, we'll see as we go. We've worked some different guys there. We'll see what happens, but certainly that's a concern as we start the season. But we've got guys that, have some experience, and we've got some guys that certainly are comfortable out there at the tackle position.
How is life different?
I'm coming to you next, Phil.
This fan base is excited to have Robertson back home. We had a chance to be able to speak to him a little bit.
I told Phil I'm coming to him, Steve.
The spring game, but how have you seen him be able to connect with the players in the short period of time so that he can make a difference?
Yeah, Travian has been awesome. Awesome. Being a former player, a guy that highly recruited out of the state of North Carolina and chose to come to South Carolina, which we need to have more guys do that now that I'm here. But as somebody that loves Carolina, his wife loves Carolina, great family, and he's been awesome. He really has. I mean, one of our defensive tackles, we were out on the field watching workouts about a month ago, and he just pulled me aside, and this was after Travian had been there for probably 2 weeks, and he just said, "You got the right dude." And he said he's made us better already. So our players have really taken to him and excited about him being here. Nobody loves Carolina more than that guy does. And to be able to get a former player back in the program, but then also a really talented coach as well, was a no-brainer for us.
Just wondering how life is different the off season after you beat Clemson.
It's definitely more enjoyable than South Carolina. Being able to be out and about and in the community, it's fun. I know how important that rivalry is. I've said that before. So certainly when you win that, whether it be Carolina, Clemson, or any rivalry game, when you win it, it makes living in that state, a lot better, without a doubt. And so certainly I've enjoyed it. But again, it's one of those, like I tell our players, I'm not going around and patting myself on the back. That's in the past, and now we got to figure out how to do it, more often.
All right, Shane Beamer, there you go. More comments from him from here at SEC Media Days. And if he's going to have a successful year, if the team's going to have a successful year, then they need their quarterback, Spencer Rattler, to have a very successful year. They need him to be the quarterback that produced the yards and the touchdowns and the fewer interceptions in the last third of the season than he did, say, in the first 2/3 of the season. He really threw the ball well down the stretch. And, of course, Gamecocks scored big wins, Tennessee and Clemson, and had Notre Dame on the ropes, just couldn't hang on there. Though they didn't do that much, as I recall, offensively in the second half. Remember, they had 2 pick sixes, I think, in the second half, or at least one, or was it 2? Anyway, the defense came up big for them on some plays in the second half of that bowl game. That all being said, Rattler's a year older. And now, even though he's got a new offensive coordinator, I just think he's got a greater grasp of everything around him at South Carolina and in Columbia. And here he is talking to the media this morning, gaggle form. Here are the questions and the answers.
What's season been like? I saw the picture of you and some of the receivers out in Phoenix, but what else have you done to get prepared?
Really just stay on the grind. If I was home, if I was back here, I was always doing something. Staying on the field, staying in the weight room. You got to stay consistent for sure.
As great as the end of last year was, how do you make sure that you don't just assume that you can pick up where you left off for this final 3 games?
Yeah, you can never assume anything's going to happen. So you got to prepare. You got to be consistent with your work and just trust in the process. We've had a great summer putting together the offense with Coach Dow and the guys. And, like I said, we're excited to get on the field and really perfect it this camp.
You obviously didn't get to participate in this last year. Just what was the excitement, the fun when Beamer said, "Hey, I want to bring you along this time around"?
Man, it was a great feeling. Obviously, I've been watching this for some years now. I've always wanted to be in a position like this, so I'm blessed to be here.
Spencer, going back to last year, the Tennessee game, did that open the door for you where said, yeah, this is why I transferred, this is why I came to the University of South Carolina?
I would say even before that, I know it was a little up and down throughout the season, but I mean, we did a lot of great things throughout the season. I know numbers wise, it might have not all been there, but we've had some big wins, been big success. So I wouldn't say just the Tennessee game, but I mean, that was a cherry on top for sure.
What have these last few months been like? What does Spencer Rattler look like? What are fans going to see when you take the field for the first time again this year?
Just a consistent player, somebody who's going to go out and give 110% effort, play my game, have fun, and lead the guys.
Is anything different though?
Not different, just obviously more experience, and just about the same me. I'm just gonna be like me, play like me, and obviously love these guys I'm with, and they make my job easier. So I'll try to make theirs easier.
Some more time to work on the offense since spring practice now. Just what do you like so far about Dal as a play caller, and what the offense might look like in a couple months?
Yeah, I said this in a previous interview. It's not like a coach-player relationship. It's more like a partnership, which I really respect. I really respect him for that. He's a real laid-back guy, but obviously serious about his craft, and I just love what he's been doing with us.
Spencer, how much thought did you put into your media days outfit?
It was kind of last minute. Shout out to BP Skinnier Clothing. He always takes care of me, and he put together a nice little look.
How important is it to take care of the football? You did it great at the end of the year, early in the year. Struggled a little bit. No one in the SEC's turned it over more in the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a main point this year. Want to limit that, have more touchdowns and interceptions. Obviously, keep the interception numbers low, and I think with this offense, it'll definitely be lower.
When you think of this receivers room, what do you think of?
Some dogs. I mean, you got Xavier Leggett, Juice Wells, AB. You can talk about our tight ends, Trey Knox, Josh Simon. So many other weapons as well. I'm excited to see them in action on the field here soon.
As good as anybody in the SEC?
I think so, 100%.
Who was all with you in Arizona when you guys went out there to work out?
Xavier Leggett, Juice, and AB came out, and Trey Knox.
Has Coach Beamer said anything about a theme for this season, or have the leaders on the team said anything about a theme or a motto for this year?
I wouldn't say any motto. It stays the same. It's just, work hard, be consistent, have a strong mindset, and everything else will take care of itself.
Reports come out that you do great on the whole NIL things, particularly Instagram. Is there, how's that changed the game? How beneficial is that? And even providing you the opportunity to be able to come back and make that profitable for another year to play with your guys here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Not just for me, but for all our players and all players in college football. I think it's a beneficial thing for us. And it's not just about us. We also love to give back and help others. I think that's the main thing about NIL that I like.
Is there anything that surprised you about it at this point of it? Because I'm sure you always had offers from people before it was, we know that stuff happened in terms of offers, but to see really what you can make, were you surprised even at the numbers that are out there?
Yeah. I mean, I won't speak on numbers, but I know, guys are getting, they're taken care of, and that's credit to what they've done on the field, the loyalty they've had to their program, and I think it's a good thing.
Who do you think is going to step up in the running game? That's obviously a pretty big void coming into the season. Who have you seen?
Yeah, I think all three of our guys, DK's obviously moved to running back. I think he's a good addition for us. Tough guy, smart guy. Obviously played a lot of positions, knows how to play ball. Obviously you got Juju, who's a vet. He's been through it. He's a great running back. And then obviously a new addition, Mario Anderson. Tough guy, strong back. I think all three of them have different qualities, but all of them will help our team.
Spencer, looking ahead to the 2024 NFL Draft, what are some traits and developmental things in your game that you're trying to improve this season?
Really just trying to improve everything. I feel like my body's the best it's ever been. I feel like my mental is really good right now, and really just improve everything.
Where would you put yourself amidst other SEC quarterbacks?
I would like to put myself at the top. That's just self-confidence. You got to have that as a quarterback, but it's always much respect to all the other quarterbacks. There's so many great quarterbacks in this league, for sure.
What kind of strides has Lenore's made this offseason?
Oh, he's a great young player. Big kid. Love Lenore's. He's really respectful. Likes to learn from his elders. Me, Luke Doty, other guys. So he's soaking everything in. He's going to be a really good player.
What kind of questions has he asked you?
Just everything. I mean, just about plays, about experiences on, off the field. He likes to soak it all in.
You want to talk us through the Rattler chain? How long have you been excited to have that thing here for today?
Yeah, I've had this for a few years now. It's a nice little piece, and decided it'd be a good little taste for today.
How excited are you about a matchup with Drake May, a guy like yourself, Heisman, talk maybe more with him right now, a chance for you to kind of reintroduce yourself nationally to people and say, hey, don't forget about me?
No doubt. I mean, I'm just excited to get on the field and compete with my guys. Obviously, Drake's a great quarterback, had a great year last year. But yeah, I'm excited to compete versus him.
Spencer, new OC, but how would you describe your comfort level at South Carolina in comparison to maybe where you were, say, a year ago heading into this?
Yeah, I'd say 100% comfort. Whatever Dow, puts on the table is something I'm comfortable with. And obviously, he likes to have input from me and the other quarterbacks as well and the offense. So I think that's a big thing.
Okay, Spencer Rattler, a lot of optimism, feeling good about things going into this coming season. Really his money year when you consider the fact that he's playing for draft position, not talking about NIL. He's done well with that, but we're talking about draft position. He still has another year of eligibility, too. So who knows what the future holds. We'll be back after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy with a low of 76 this evening. Tomorrow is our hottest day of the week. You can look for more clouds than sunshine, a high of 96. Some afternoon downpours also possible. For the weekend, on Saturday, we have a 40% chance of some rain, a high of 90, while on Sunday, 30% chance of showers, the high is 89. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. One of the cool things about working at the Melting Pot is we don't have to push our servers to sell dessert. We don't even have to push them to suggest dessert. You all know it's coming, a big bowl of melted chocolate with all the dippers that you could dream of. How about a flaming turtle, creamy flavored milk chocolate is melted with caramel flambéed and topped with candied pecans? Or a bananas Foster white chocolate fondue melted with bananas and dulce de leche, then flambéed. The Melting Pot, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Republican Senator Chuck Grassley has released an unclassified document that Republicans claim is significant in their investigation of Hunter Biden. Republicans say the information is significant as they probe the financial affairs of President Biden's family, reviving previous claims of financial wrongdoing. House Oversight Chairman James Comer has issued a subpoena for the document. It was made public for the first time Thursday. Protesters angered by an Iraqi man in Sweden who threatened to burn a copy of the Quran stormed the Swedish embassy in Baghdad. They overran the diplomatic compound early Thursday and started a fire. Hours later, Iraq's prime minister cut diplomatic ties with Sweden in protest over the desecration of the Islamic book. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 163 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Yeah, are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Why just talk about something? Why not just do it? I went online to dominionenergy.com/SC, signed up on the Save Energy tab to have these folks come on out, haul away my old refrigerator for free. Oh, and by the way, they paid me $50 to do this. It was easy. They showed up on time, threw the old fridge on a cart, they hauled it away. I didn't have to do a thing except sit and wait for my check. A couple weeks later, I got my check, made space getting rid of an old appliance I wasn't even using. It's that simple. Go to dominionenergy.com/SC. Sign up today.
Hey, honey, do you remember if Dad took his meds this morning?
You know, I'm not sure.
He isn't either. Keeping up with his meds is overwhelming.
You know, True Pharmacy packages medication. They showed me a sample, and it even separates them by date and time of day.
Something like that would be really helpful for Dad. And for me.
Even better, it's free, just for being their customer. True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway and 3217 Devine Street. Or TrueRxSC.com.
Hi, this is Kevin Cohen. I'm the owner, the general manager here at The Point. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is to partner with great people. To that end, I'm looking to partner in the upcoming months with like-minded business owners, people who want to grow their respective businesses. Would you consider meeting with me in the very near future to discuss how The Point can partner with you so that you can exceed your own expectations in the coming year? Let's sit down over a glass of tea, a cup of coffee. Let's talk about how your business and my business can work together to meet our collective goals. I'm not looking simply for advertisers. I can find them by simply cold calling people a few times a week. What I'm looking for are business partners who share the vision that I have for my own small business. That vision is very simple. Local businesses need to support local businesses, period. If you have an interest in telling people about your business via the radio, let's make it happen affordably and local. Call me directly, 563-8558, 563-8558. I'd appreciate the chance to meet with you. Maybe we can help each other.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
I want you to want me.
That seems like good music for the intro to the recruiting segment before we get to MJ Ward, because let's face it, recruiting is all about wanting you to want me. I want you to want me to come play for me. Good choice there, Pat. Recruiting brought to you by Seawells. Seawells, of course, the folks to call for the very best in the catering business. Whether you have a wedding reception or a birthday party, a corporate outing, an awards banquet, a business luncheon, just call the catering experts at Seawells, 803-771-7385, online, SeawellsCateringSC.com, and of course, get by during the week, Monday through Friday, for the daily luncheon buffet. It's 11 to 2, and it's only $13 and well worth it. All right, a little bit in recruiting. Defensive tackle DeAndre Robinson of Orlando announced for Texas over Florida today. He had an offer from USC, made an unofficial visit in May. Tomorrow, defensive tackle Liam Andrews goes public with his decision. Penn State's the favorite. South Carolina was one of his official visits. Clemson target, 2025 defensive end Isaiah Campbell, offered by Tennessee. Basketball, 6'4" Austin Swartz has Clemson in his final 8. He has scheduled 6 more official visits for the fall. He's already taken official visits to Clemson and Tennessee. He has visits now set with Indiana, August 18th, not really the fall, but close enough. Miami, August 25th. Georgia, September 1st. Florida State, September 8th. Connecticut, September 18th. And Virginia Tech, September 29th. He also has Notre Dame in his 8, but he does not have Tennessee in his 8. Now the Transfer Portal John report, that is brought to you by Dumpster Plus. Dumpster Plus provides a roll-off dumpster and Porta-John in one. Check them out at 803-500-5094. Clemson has picked up another baseball transfer. 6'8" left-hander Noah Samole, transferring from Georgia Tech. He's a native of Mason, Ohio. As a freshman at Tech this past season, he appeared in just 12 games with a record of 0-1. He has hit 98 miles per hour with his fastball. Word on him is he has a very high ceiling. Arkansas got another big-time player out of the Portal John as well. Left-hander Mason Molina from Texas Tech is transferring to Arkansas. Struck out 108 in 83 and a third innings this past season. There you go with the recruiting report for tonight here on Sports Talk. Okay, first round of the Open is well in the books because, of course, they are way ahead of us time-wise. So these guys are sleeping now, but not MJ Ward. He never sleeps. And in the opening round, you've got an amateur leading the way. Christo Lamprish at 5 under 66, along with Tommy Fleetwood and Emiliano Grillo. They are all at 5 under 66. Antoine Rosner, Adrian, Adrian, 4 under 67, and Brian Harmon at 4 under 67. Let's turn it over. Let's turn it over to MJ, who can handle all these names from around the world. Welcome in, sir. Great to have you with us from Liverpool.
I tell you, Phil, they're going to bring you to the UN to do the pronunciations. You'd be great. I mean, if we're not at war in about 30 seconds, Phil, I don't know what we're doing. So I'll say this much, Phil. You stay in SEC country and you'll be okay. Don't worry about it. All right.
There you go. Will you tell me how to pronounce Christo?
Well, I think the best way is, you came, pretty much close to it, but Lamprecht is probably the closest you can get to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, what I will say is this is going to be about a tale of two different tournaments. Today was one tournament because the weather cooperated. For the next 54 holes, it could be anything. Right now, forecasts do not look very promising. It's more about the wind velocity, as it always is on a links course. Don't get me wrong, rain, if it's coming down to the point, they have puddles on the greens and they have to stop play, that's one thing. But links courses, they dry out pretty fast compared to normal golf courses, but the weather is going to turn. Anybody is still in this ball game. There's no way to calculate what the next 54 holes are going to be about. But to have an amateur, the last one to be at the top or tied for the lead was Paul Dunn, and that goes back to when it was played in 2015 at the old course. I will say this because you mentioned about recruiting, and you were just talking about it. And as it relates to golf, the collegiate level of golf today is just off the charts. These guys are just amazing. All of the top players that generally you see or hear about will try to make a run at an NCAA Division I school. But I will tell you this, Phil, if you went down the ranks to Division II and Division III, the quality of the golf is really exemplary. It's far different than what it was, even when Tiger and Phil were playing in a collegiate career. So, to have a guy at the top, he's an amateur. His expectations were probably, hey, look, let me see if I can just make the cut, and we'll go from there. He won the British Amateur coming in, so he's an accomplished player. But whatever happens from this point is gravy. Let's be real. An amateur hasn't won a major championship going back to the 1930s, any of the four. To contemplate what will happen here, I wouldn't say he's like a mega lottery ticket now to win, but the odds are still high and long, just because the moment will certainly catch up at some point that you realize how close you are. But you have to tip your hat. He played fantastic golf, and then you have to give credit to Tommy Fleetwood, has been playing really solid golf, tied for the lead, and Emiliano Grillo played phenomenal after two early bogeys. He had 7 birdies on the rest of the golf course, and he played really solid golf. But there's a lot of good, a lot of key names are in in this way. By no means are they out. Brooks Koepka's 1 under, Scotty Scheffler's 1 under. Rory battled really hard today. As a very late tee time, he's at even par. There's just plenty of golf left here, but the golf course was set up the way it's supposed to be for a tournament. Players don't like making high scores. You can ask Justin Thomas that. He had 82. Ricky Fowler's on the 18th hole, has a chance to finish, probably at 1 over, maybe even par. Inexplicably, he goes out of bounds with his second shot. And then to make sure that Ricky didn't, forget what he did on the last shot, he does it all over again. And it's just, those are the kind of things that when you add up 72 holes, they come back to hit you if he makes a run, if he does that. But there's a lot of golf to be played, and the weather conditions, I can tell you from having seen this many times, when the weather turns, it's really tough when the wind velocities really pick up and you have to start judging clubs to get to the targets that you need to get to. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
MJ, sticking with Lamprecht for just a second and talking about collegiate golf, he's a Georgia Tech guy, so he's obviously an accomplished golfer at the collegiate level as well, but he is 6 feet 8 inches tall. And he just looks odd out on the golf course in a situation where the majority of players' average height is probably 5'10" to 6'2" at max. Long term for him, and we don't get to see very many tall players. Can his swing hold up? Can his back withstand as lengthy as he has to swing the club just to get through his body frame? I mean, is that a guy who we could see playing 15 or 20 years because of his height, or is that a disadvantage, do you think, to him?
Well, I tell you, you raise a good point. And until the most recent of years, when I say recent of years, I say in the last quarter of a century, usually if you got beyond 6 feet tall, it was kind of believed that if you were closer to the ball with your swing, it would be a much more easier or a more consistent ability to deliver the club head time after time after time. With the technique that these guys are at, they're more athletic than they've ever been. I mean, it's certainly going to be an issue. I mean, look, George Archer is the tallest major champion. He won the Masters when he was 6'5" and change, 6'6". Clearly, if he were to win, I mean, it would be off the charts, obviously. But yeah, there are some issues. I mean, when you have somebody who's really tall, you obviously have to be fitted correctly for your clubs. You certainly have to have the grips correct because of your hand size and the way the grips are. There's a lot of variables, but I'm sure that has all been worked out prior to him playing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does going forward. It's always a story when an amateur plays well in a major championship because it's so infrequent that you see them. I mean, because the money is so good that a lot of the key European players, I mean, Matthew Fitzpatrick's a great example. He checked into Northwestern. He was there. I don't think he was there long enough to even get the seat warm. I mean, basically for a class. And he basically said, you know what, I need to go pro. I need to go into that level. And that's how he went about his career. And you can't deny when you have talent at that level, is college really doing you a favor or are you doing the university a favor by playing for them? And I think that's always going to be the balance line in terms of whether somebody's going to stick around. But I don't anticipate people of a high level playing full 4 years. It's no different than collegiate basketball or collegiate football. It's no different. Golf is the same thing in terms of if you have that talent, you're going to be going out on the professional circuit as quickly as you can.
MJ Ward joining us here on Sports Talk again, and thank you so much for your time. Going back to the Masters, we had a little bit of beef between Brooks Koepka and Patrick Cantlay. They publicly kind of duked it out about slow pace of play. Koepka, of course, accusing Cantlay and then even kind of inferring that that was one of the reasons he kind of fell apart on Sunday in Augusta. Well, the two of them, let's say the PGA has a sense of humor. The two of them have been paired together along with Hideki Matsuyama, and all three today shot 1 under 70s on the day. Do you know if there was any continued beef there or anything going on between Cantlay and Koepka across the pond?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I think the bigger issue with Cantlay is not his slow play. It's that has been his underproduction in major championships. I mean, it's underwhelming when you think that this is the 4th ranked player in the world. You would think that along the line he would have been in contention. And when you compare his major championship record to his fellow compadre from the San Diego, LA, area, Southern California, with Xander, I mean, Patrick only has, I believe, again, don't quote me, but I believe it's only about 4 or 5 top 10s compared to Xander, who's got double that. So it's really about production. And Patrick has got to show that, he is a big-time player in the biggest events. Now, he has won on tour, so I don't want to downplay and say he's not capable of winning. But his record in major championships is really underwhelming, especially when you compare it to the two people he's playing with. Obviously, Brooks has 5 majors. Hideki has the Masters. But Hideki has played well at the major championship level. I mean, he's been in the thick of a few of them. So it's not like he's searching. But for Cantlay, this would be an opportunity to show that he's got the capability, and there's nothing more defining in a career than to say that you hold the claret jug in your hand. That changes your entire perspective. I mean, look at the way everybody values Cameron Smith now. I mean, think about what he was prior to winning at St. Andrews, and then coming out of St. Andrews, what he is looked upon. It's a defining moment that you win the game's oldest major championship. So if Patrick can stay in the battle, I don't think that issue will, of him being slow will come up. But his main thing right now is keep the pedal down so that he can stay in the hunt with all the other names that are up there. There's a lot of key names that are very close to the leaderboard here. And as if anybody watched the telecast, I certainly have seen it by walking around. The internal out of bounds. There are very few things that give pros bad nightmares, and out of bounds holes are really one of those kryptonite situations. The other one is if you get into the bunkers at Royal Liverpool, it's sort of like the commercial on TV, the Roach Motel. You go in, but you don't come out. Well, that's what they're like. If you go in, you better take your medicine. The people that try to get frisky and try to advance the ball further than what is reasonable, you're going to be, they're going to give you a pail and a shovel because you're going to be sitting in those things for more than one shot. This is what links golf is about. You have to really understand where you're at any point in time, the right trajectory for the shots that you need to play. And this is going to get really complicated when you get rain and especially different wind velocities that are going to start to really come into play probably over the next 54 holes.
MJ, great stuff as always. We look forward to hearing from you tomorrow night. I know it's been a very long day for you getting over there yesterday and then on the course today. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, my man. Appreciate it.
I'll mention to Christo when I see him that he is a big fan in Columbia, South Carolina. Okay, so
we're all over Christo. We're all over.
I'll be sure to mention to him as he looks down at me from 6'8" to 6'1".
Yeah, really. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
MJ Ward
guys.
from Liverpool. Say hello to the Beatles for us. MJ Ward from Liverpool. The other tournament, for those who aren't in the Open, the Barracuda Championships in California, they're playing that Stableford scoring system, modified Stableford scoring system, I would guess. Bo Hosler is your leader. This is where high scores, you get points. So, like if you have an eagle, you get points, and a birdie gets fewer points, a par, etc. So, if you looked at these scores against par, it would look like my scorecard. Like Bo Hosler is plus 17. That would look like my entire, look like my round. But it's plus 17 in terms of points. Alexander Levy is at plus 16. S.Y. No on the course at plus 16. Carson Young, Patrick Rogers, they're at 15. And as far as some locals go, Andrew Novak turned in a score of plus 9. Wesley Bryan is still on the course at plus 9. Matt Neesmith is at 8 points. William McGirt has 6. Doc Redman has 2. And Tommy Gainey is at even par. All right, let's hit the break.
When
and
that
we'll be back.
Stableford, quick comment real quick. When that Stableford scoring system first came out, I thought it was the coolest thing because you remember they played it in Denver or in Colorado, I think. And so the guys could bomb it down the fairways, and they were shooting eagles and a lot of birdies. It was a lot of fun. I think it's kind of lost its luster over the years, though. I'm not sure it's nearly as popular as it once was.
All right, we got to go to the break here on Sports Talk, and we will come back to wrap things up from here at SEC Media Days. Look ahead to tomorrow's show. Tomorrow they'll be releasing the preseason SEC ranking and the all-SEC team. We'll have that for you tomorrow night and also tomorrow on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. And don't forget, if you missed anything tonight here on Sports Talk, you can always go back and check out everything we do in podcast form. And we'll be back.
Major Billy Downer here from the Department of Natural Resources, and DNR is excited to announce the implementation of Go Outdoors SC, a new online licensing and boat titling system that you can access right from your phone. Through this new system, customers can purchase their hunting and fishing licenses, renew their boats, apply for lottery hunt opportunities, and complete electronic harvest reporting requirements. For more information, visit Go Outdoors SC at your local app store.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company, then talking to you, and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you, I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
Hi, folks. This is Mike Morgan. I want to tell you about an exciting new product from my friends at Vision Air Solutions. Staying healthy in my line of work is so critical, and probably in yours as well. A large factor in all that is making sure we're breathing in healthy and safe air every day. That's where Vision Air Solutions comes in. They make sure your home has air purification for all the air pollution you can't see. Viruses, mold, bacteria, stale odors, cooking smells, and volatile organic compounds. They make sure your home is full of clean air and also offer HVAC duct cleaning and sanitation as well. Make sure you and your family are breathing clean air today by giving Vision Air Solutions a call today. 803-220-1811. That's 803-220-1811. Tell them Mike sent you.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
Summer weather has arrived in South Carolina, and you know what that means. Sweet, tasty South Carolina peaches are hitting shelves near you. Most people tend to think of Georgia as the peach state, but South Carolina is the East Coast's top producing peach state, so we know a thing or two about a great tasting peach. The next time you're in the grocery store or local farmer's market, keep an eye out for those sweet, tasty, certified SC peaches. Discover more about the tastier peach state at scpeach.org.
Should mention tonight, before we sign it off, in baseball in Atlanta today, the Braves defeated Arizona 7-5, and they had another great performance on the mound from Spencer Strider, the former Clemson Tiger, who had, 13 strikeouts today? Did I read that? 13 strikeouts. And so the Braves get a win over the Diamondbacks. Braves have been not going to say sliding, but they've been struggling a little bit.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm not going to say sliding, but they had gone a little ways there and lost their last two series. And nice win for them over the D-backs, so they win at 7-5.
Got to be frustrating for Strider. He gets 13 strikeouts and didn't even get the win today.
So I was right. He did have 13 strikeouts
Yes.
today, right?
He did have 13 Ks.
And Austin Riley
only
over
pitched
the
6 innings.
Sorry, and then over the 3-game series, Austin Riley had 6 hits, 4 home runs, and 11 RBIs. So quite a 3-game stretch for him as well.
On the contrasting that are the Yankees. My goodness, they struck out 42 times in their 3-game series in California against the Angels. They struck out 42 times. They are a struggling bunch as they
trade
they
deadline
come
is
back
right
to
around
New
the
York.
corner, Phil. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know who they can go and get and help. You know, you just can't snap your fingers and turn it around. And plus, they got so many issues here. Outside of Garrett Cole, there's not a single starting pitcher you can count on to get you past 5 innings. Well, I'll take that back. The former Gamecock Clark Schmidt has actually emerged now and has become a solid starter for them. But now their bullpen is throwing gasoline on the fire. So anyway, I'm not going to sit here and whine about the Yankees to close things out here. I do not want to do that.
Phil, real
I
quick,
just
though,
can't believe
I'm
they.
sorry, Chris.
I was just going to say, Pat, I can't believe they are 3 games above 500 and in last place in the AL East.
Tell me about it.
They would actually be tied for the lead in the Central.
Wow.
Well, that's they live in the SEC of Major League Baseball. They live in the American League East. What can I say? They're not going to move. I do want to say that this was a great event. Kudos to the SEC. It's one thing to do this in Hoover, where it's a big event. Well, it's a big event here, but I mean Hoover, small suburb outside of Birmingham. And it's right in your backyard. To move everything to Nashville, downtown Nashville, pretty good sized city. Got a lot of stuff going on, and they pulled this thing off very smoothly. A wonderful hotel to have this thing at, the Grand Hyatt. Great bathrooms, if I must say so myself. I mean, nice, big, clean bathrooms. And the staff here was excellent. The staff of the SEC was excellent. From a media reporting standpoint, there's nothing you could want, I don't believe. They had everything that you needed to do your job and do it well. So thanks to the folks here at the SEC for putting on another great show next year in Dallas, Texas, and we'll have 16 teams. I want to see how we're going to do this. 4 teams a day over 4 days. Is that going to be the plan?
It'll go to Friday. I bet it'll be a full week, Monday through Friday.
My goodness. Did you ever want to cover the SEC Media Days, Chris? You might get your wish. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow. Back.